So when we're thinking about the standing position, now if anyone wants to grab a chair or if they need the wall just to give them a little bit of stability if standing upright's not terribly comfortable, we're going to bring our feet roughly about hip width apart. So if you just nod the chin, look down at your toes. We want them parallel, so your toes are pointing directly towards me and the screen. And I want you just to roll those shoulders and just let them sit comfortably down the back of the rib cage. And we're just going to start to become aware of our standing alignment here. So I want you to think about the building blocks. So the head positioned over the rib cage, positioned over the pelvis. I want that even weight through the feet. So really thinking about the big toe, the little toe, the center of the heel. I want you to lift and spread all 10 toes up and then just gently place them back down into the floor. Just watching that the backs of the knees haven't locked out. I'm a bit hypermobile, so we don't want them locked out. We want them straightened, but we want them comfortably in the middle, so don't sort of stick them out. So we'll be lengthening through that spine, almost like we have an invisible bit of string pointing or pulling out the top of our head. Good. We're just going to take a few breaths here. It's quite good to bring your hands onto the sides of the backs of your rib cage. And I want you to breathe deep and wide into the sides and the backs of the ribs. So breathing in, feel that rib cage just start to expand into your hands. And as you exhale, release out the mouth and just start to feel the ribs closing in, almost to the point where you can just start to feel a little bit of a nipping together into your abdominals. So let's do that again. Let's breathe into our hands, breathing in. And then as you exhale, just start to feel the rib cage start to close in, releasing all that carbon dioxide, almost to the point where you just get this little zipping sensation up through your tummy. So if you take your attention to your belly button and your pelvic floor area, I want you to imagine it's a little elevator inside between the front and the back. And we're sort of having a little lifting sensation. We're not bracing, we're not sticking the tummy out as we tense. We're sort of getting a lifting sensation, almost like you're trying to pull your belly button slightly towards the back of your spine. While you're doing that, we're still keeping lengthened in the spine. We're keeping the shoulders relaxed. We're keeping the head and the neck nice and long. Okay, we're going to mobilize our shoulders now. So taking our left hand, keeping it slightly in front of the body, I want you to take a breath in into the sides, into the backs, and take your arm to the side of your head. Now let that shoulder drop down. Most of us do this, so just let it drop. And then as you exhale, float the arm back down. Other side. Breathing in. Now as you breathe in, I want you to think about that little connection through the tummy, that little tiny pushback of the belly button. Exhale. So while we're floating our arm up and down, nothing else is moving. Our spine is staying lengthened, and we still have the soft ribs connecting over the pelvis. So breathing in, floating the arm up, shoulders come down. Exhaling. One more to each side. Breathing in slowly with control. That little lift in the tummy. Exhaling back down. Last one, making sure that we're nice and even. Breathing in and exhaling. Good, we're now going to do both arms together. So keeping them slightly in front of the body, like we're drawing a big circle with our fingertips. You're going to breathe in, reach those arms up to the ceiling. Shoulders down the back. A little connection in the tummy. Exhale, float down. Good, two more. Breathing in. Relaxing those shoulders. And then exhaling, coming back down, nice and controlled. Last one, breathing in. And then exhaling. Coming back down. Good. Just roll those shoulders, let them sit comfortably down the back, watching that we haven't collapsed. So we're going to do something called standing on one leg. Now this is really good for our balance and our pelvic stability. So if you've got a mat, I'd come off it. We're going to bring our feet a little bit closer together, not completely touching, so we've got a tiny gap between. We're still lengthening up. I want you just to place your hands onto your hips. Now think of your pelvis as a spirit level. We don't want it to dip. We're going to slightly shift the weight over to this left leg and just lift our right heel. Now this might be enough of you. You should start to feel a little awakening through the tummy. Think about that lifting, because then we're going to just start to gently let that leg come up into a single knee fold. Use the wall if you need. Lower it back down, toes connect, drop the heel, and straighten up the pelvis. Chair or wall if you need that stability. So we're going to go over to the other side. So we just let the weight shift, thinking about that little scoop of the belly, pushing the belly button back. Relax those shoulders, peel that left heel. We're going to take a breath in, and as we exhale, we're going to hold there. Keep that pelvis level, breathe in, and then exhale, lowering it back down. Let the heel drop, find that stability, and we're going to shift over to the other side again. So lift that heel first, exhale, coming into a nice single knee fold. Use the wall, use your balance, think about that connection. Breathe in here, exhale, lower. Lower the heel, other side. So we shift the weight, we lift the heel. Let's exhale. Breathe in, find that stability. Keep lengthening up through the spine. Then just lower the heel. And you can just walk the feet out a couple of times. So getting a nice little bit of hip mobility there. Good. So we're now going to bring the arms out in front of us. So I just want you to reach and extend those fingertips down towards the floor. Bring your feet roughly about hip width again. So spread those fingers out and then just release them. We're going to take a breath in as we start to reach those fingertips towards the screen and all the way up to the ceiling. Keep the ribs relaxed, keep the shoulders down. Then as you exhale, keeping those fingers lovely and long, you're going to float them back down. And we're going to go again. We're going to breathe in. So a little connection through that tummy. Thinking about softening the rib cage so we're not pigeon chest. And then floating back down. One more, breathing in and exhaling, coming back down. Good. So we're going to do a little half roll down. So if you get very dizzy, if coming into sort of a forward flex position is not good for you, I'd just like you to come down onto your mat and lie down on the floor. For those that are okay to come into a sort of curl forward, just watching me for a moment. So our feet are still parallel. We're going to soft our knees. We're going to have a little tuck of the chin. I want you to think about that scoop in the belly as you just start to gently let your spine flex forward. So the weight is slightly going over the arches of the feet. Keep that scoop in the belly, that lift up. Just let the neck be long, let the head hang. We're going to breathe in. And then as you exhale, we're going to just start to tuck yourself back up, restacking the spine. Thinking of those building blocks, shoulders and head. So we're going to do 2 more of these. We take a breath in. As we exhale, we nod the chin. We scoop the belly and we start to flex our weight slightly over the arches. So let the neck be long, let the arms hang in the sockets. Just open and close the mouth a couple of times. Release any tension and then breathe back in. On your next exhale, scoop that belly, protect your lower back as you restack all the way back up. Now, if you want to, you can go into sort of the full flexion, but again, just listen to your body. So we breathe in, looking forward, exhale, tuck the chin, a little scoop of the belly, and we start to allow the weight to come slightly over the arches. Keep pressing down the big toe, little toe, and those heels. Rolling down, keep the ribs lifting away from your toes. Let the neck be long. Give it a little yes and no to make sure there's no tension. And then as you exhale, keep those knees soft, keep scooping through that belly, restack the spine, bone by bone by bone, shoulders and head come up last. Hopefully that was all right for everybody. We're now going to actually take ourselves down onto the mat. So I'm just going to move my camera so you can see my mat a little bit better. So we're going to come into what we call the relaxation position. So we want our head down comfortably onto the mat. I use a little head cushion because it helps with my alignment. If you're going to use a cushion, if you're lying back and you find that your head's like the chin's a bit much, a head cushion will really help with that, but it wants to be a small folded towel or about 1 inch thick. Anything bigger, you're then going to be flexing the neck too much. So If you're using a little towel or a little head cushion, just make sure it's positioned on the back of the head, leaving the neck nice and free. Shoulders down, the knees are bent and the feet are roughly about hip width apart. And just looking, making sure that the knees haven't rolled in or rolled out. We want them nice and parallel. Arms down by the side. We're just going to breathe here. I want you to start to think about the 3 body weights, the back of the head, the back of the rib cage, and the back of the pelvis. And just take a few breaths here. Again, that breathing that we did earlier in standing, breathing into the sides and the backs of the ribs. And then exhaling out the mouth. Breathing in. Exhaling. 2 more breaths here. Breathing in. The chest is open, the face is relaxed, the head is heavy. You start to become aware of your spine, just being lengthened into the mat, it's complete neutral alignment. And then after this last breath, you can just bring your awareness back. And we're going to come into some single knee folds. So back to lifting that right heel. I want you to draw that knee in and keep it in line with your hip. So already that tummy's having to have a little bit of a connection. And then I want you to just extend the leg out gently, keeping the knees in line. Feel that tummy have to just contract a little bit to keep the pelvis heavy and the ribs heavy. Bring the knee back in and lower it back down. Other side. So exhale, coming into a single knee fold, nice 90-degree angle with the knee. And then as you breathe in, you're going to reach that leg, pointing the toe. Feel that little scoop in the belly, thinking about pushing the belly button slightly back. Draw it back in and lowering it. So it's all about control. We're only moving our hip joints. Nothing else is movement. So we're not bracing in the top half. We're keeping the chest open, the shoulders relaxed, the neck relaxed. I'm going to do a couple more of these. So we breathe in as we reach. That helps with our core stability. Holding it back in and lowering back down. Now at any point you can always come into a rest. We're going to do 1 more set of these if that feels okay. So you're thinking about scooping that belly, softening the ribs. Knee fold back in and lower. Always make sure you're even. Breathing in, reach. Bend the knee and lower back down. Good. So let's just reset for a moment. So keep the feet planted this time. Just making sure that the neck is free of tension. We're just going to come into some neck rolls. So keeping the arms down by the side, I want you to take a breath in. And as you exhale, you're going to just gently take that right ear over to your right shoulder. Gentle movement. Breathe in, bring your nose back to center. And then exhaling, going over to the other side. Breathing in, coming back to center. Exhaling. If at any point you get lost with your breathing, just breathe normally, just making sure that you don't hold your breath. So even while we've got the neck just gently rotating from side to side, I still want you to think about that little connection in the deep abdominals. Don't forget about that. Don't forget about that gentle lifting up and inside. Almost like you're trying to present yourself from having a wee, but not bracing. So you're not sticking out the tummy. We don't want that. We don't want bracing. We want a lift up inside. Bring your head back to center. And then you're going to take your arms up above your chest. Just let those shoulders relax, let the humerus sit comfortably into the socket. Turn the palms to face your knees. We're going to come into something called Starfish. So I want you to lengthen your left leg away, flex the foot, and reach your right arm overhead. Just watching those ears and keeping the hip nice and open. And then breathe in, slide the leg, slide the arm, going over to the other side. So the key here is, we've got the tummy switched on a little bit. We're not getting any more movement except working through our hips and our shoulders. So exhale, lengthen the leg and the arm away. Thinking about that little scoop in the belly as you take everything back to center. Exhaling. Breathing in, coming back to center. One more set to each side. Exhaling. Breathing in, back to center. Last set. Little flex of the feet, really keep that heel nice and grounded. And then sliding it back in. And then both arms can just rest down by the side of the body. Good. So I want you to place your hands now onto your hip bones. Again, thinking about that stability, keep the pelvis nice and heavy. I want you to think about your right leg and just letting it open to the right, so the right foot rolls on the outer border, but doing this before your pelvis moves. So if I don't use my tummy connection, this is what happens. We rotate in the spine and the pelvis. So we're thinking of that little lift, that little scoop in the belly, almost pushing our belly button very gently back, opening the knee, holding it there, and then closing it back in again. So let's add the breath. We exhale, we open the other knee now. Breathe in, pause, and then exhaling, coming back to center. So again, only moving through our hips. Everything is staying in neutral or still. The chest is open, the shoulders are relaxed, the face is relaxed. So a good way of describing it is almost picking up and dropping a penny up and deep, up inside your pelvic floor and deep abdominals. The only thing when I'm saying about this, this little scoop, this little lift in the belly, we don't want bracing out. So if you're trying to stick your gut out by clenching, that's not what we don't want. We want a lift. Let's do one more to each side. Your hands there are there for feedback. So thinking, is my pelvis moving? Do I need to engage through my center a little bit more? Let's do one more set here. Exhale, open. Breathe in, hold. And then exhaling. Just making sure you're nice and even. And then after your last one, just take both knees in towards the body. And just drop that tailbone for a moment. Just release the lower back. Keep the toes connected. Just make very small circles with your knees. And going the other way. Getting a nice little bit of circumduction in the hip joints now. Breathe in. And as you exhale, just carefully placing your feet back down. So we're going to just come into some pelvic tilts, and then we're going to come into a spine curl. So for the feedback, you can bring your hands back onto your pelvis. Now I want you to think about your tailbone. And I want you to think about your lower part of the back. At the moment, our neutral has all its natural curves. So we should have a tiny little pocket of air in our lower back. Every spine is different. So it might not be that noticeable, or you might find it's quite a big pocket. I want you to think about your tailbone, and I want you to just start to tuck it towards your nose so you can feel that lower part of the back release, and also that tiny little scoop in the belly. Once you feel that lower part of the back release, you're then just going to release it back to that starting position, our neutral pelvis. So let's do that again. Let's just thinking about bringing that tailbone slightly towards our nose. Feel that lower part of the back release, and then just let it go. So now let's go the other way. So start to take the tailbone away so you feel a little lengthening into the lower back, almost like it's lifting away. Not too much, we're still keeping the chest open and the rib cage heavy. And then just take it back to its neutral. So one more, just take that tailbone slightly away, that little lift in the center, and then take it back. So now let's do a seesaw effect. So let's breathe in. So we exhale, let's take that tailbone slightly towards our nose, feel that release. And then as you exhale, run it through center and then take it slightly away so we get a little bit of lengthening. And then come back to center. So now let's go east and west. So can you think about that little lift and just start to take your left hip bone slightly towards the left part of the floor. You might get a little lift here, that's fine. We're getting into a rotation. Come back to center, and then gently go over to the other side. Back to center. Good, one more. Exhale. Back to center. And then gently go in the other direction. Really good for just a little bit of mobility in the pelvis. And then once you've done an even amount, you can bring your hands back down by the side of the body, coming into what we call a spine curl. So that movement we did just done with the tucking of the tailbone, feel that release in the mat. Make sure your feet aren't too far away. We're now going to keep it going. So we're starting to open the hips and peel and wheel the spine up and away off the mat. I have a little head cushion, some of you might want to move it. So my hips are opening, my spine is lifted. I've lengthened the knees away. The feet are even weight, and I'm softening the ribs down. So coming to about the base of our shoulders. Breathe in here. And then as you exhale, I want you to think bone by bone by bone, coming back down into the mat. So feeling the rib cage soften. Keep that tailbone tucked so you can feel that release into the mat. And then just relax back to the start. So let's go again. Breathe in to prepare. As we exhale, we tuck the tailbone. We push through the feet. We open those hips. We peel and wheel the spine up and away. And once we're there, just make sure the ears are away from the shoulders. The rib cage is softening down. Feel that connection, that little lift in the pelvic floor. This is really good for our hip strength as well. Breathe in here. Then exhaling. Bone by bone by bone, almost like you've got a piece of string is pulling each and every vertebrae back down, and then you can relax back to your neutral. Last one. So we exhale, we tuck, and we peel and we wheel through the center line, coming to about the base of the shoulders, opening those hips, even weight through those feet, really pushing down that big toe, little toe. And then as you exhale, just gently coming back down. Bone by bone by bone. And then once you can't go any further, you're just going to let that pelvis naturally go back to its neutral. Good. Hopefully that feels okay. So let's just pull those knees in again. Let's release those hips. It's a subtle strengthener, but really, really, really good for your spine and your hips. And then we're going to place them back down. We're going to come into what we call a little curl up. So it's not necessarily a crunch. Is actually really good for upper spine flexion. So bring your hands behind the back of your head, relax the shoulders down, and keep your elbows in your peripheral vision. So just make sure you can see them in the corner of your eye. I want you to think about your pelvis being really grounded here. So we're going to just start to tuck the chin, not too much. We want about a fist width between the chin and the chest. And we're going to just start to gently curl the spine up. Now, we're not pulling it up with our hands. We're engaging through that tummy, so thinking little lift. You're going to breathe in, hold this position, and then gently exhaling yourself back down. Now, just watching that you don't do this with the elbows. You want to keep them in their vision, so we've got the nice roundness around the scapula. We're going to do this again. So as we exhale, we tuck the chin, and we start to flex up. But while you're flexing up, I almost want you to feel that your upper spine is being massaged back down into your mat. Little breath in. Keep that connection in the and scoop in the belly. And then exhaling, coming back down. Now, if this is too much for you today, you can just come back and enjoy your relaxation position. Otherwise, we're going to just do two more. So being mindful that you're not pulling your head up with your hands, you're engaging through that center, being aware of that spine. Last one, exhaling, tuck the chin, small movement, almost like you're pushing your feet away without moving them. Breathe in, and then exhaling, coming back down. Good. Just relaxing those shoulders, placing your hands back down behind the side of the body. And then from here, we're going to come into something called toe taps. So we're going to firstly come back into that single knee fold. Now watch that knee doesn't come too far in. We want it to be roughly in line with the hip, so we're still in our neutral. In fact, you can do it to yourself. If you do pull your knee too far in, do you start to feel that your lower back flattens? We've lost our neutral. We want the natural curves of our spine. So we want that leg to be roughly in line with our hip. We're going to hold that there and then just gently lower it down. Back to the other side, coming into your single knee fold, soft ribs, and lowering it back down. If this feels okay for you, you're going to come into a double knee fold. You're going to hold there. So again, watch that the knees aren't too far in. We're going to breathe in as we start to lengthen that thigh bone away, tap the toe down, and exhale back. So we breathe in, thigh bone lengthens, tummy connects, we tap down, and we draw back up. If that's too much for you today, just stick with the single knee folds as such. But we're going to do a set of 6 of these, if this is okay for you. So we breathe in, think lengthening thigh bone away, soften those ribs, tummy's connected, exhaling. Breathing in, exhaling. Breathing in. So we're not just dropping the knee either. We're not just doing this. We're thinking thigh bone lengthening and then coming up. And you'll really feel that connection through your center, hopefully starting to feel it work. If I don't do anything, if I'm not using my core, my spine naturally wants to arch up. So this is why we want to think about that lift in the center. We've got one more set. And then once you're even, just pull those knees in. Release the hips. Just breathe in here. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Place the feet back down. Let's open the feet out a little bit wider now. So if you've got a yoga mat, just roughly about the size of your mat, open your arms out, palms facing the ceiling. Let that chest be open and relaxed. We're going to come into something called knee rolls. So I want you to take both knees over to the right. So imagining your legs are a bit like magnets. So they're not going to go all the way. They're going to come about halfway. And then I want you to think about that little lift in the tummy as you pause. Hold there. So the opposite hip's lifting, but our shoulders are staying nice and grounded into the mat. Breathe in. And then as you exhale, you can bring your legs back to center. So although it feels nice that we just probably want to let our legs collapse, we're still using our deep abdominal muscles to help facilitate this movement. And we're getting a little bit of rotation in the spine as well. Coming back to center. So exhaling on the movement. We're letting the opposite hip lift, but the shoulders stay heavy. Breathe in, hold. Exhaling, scoop the belly, take the legs back. Other side. And if it feels okay, you can even add an opposite rotation with neck. We've got a nice spiraling sensation. Just listen to your body. Take it as far as you need to go. Keep that little scoop in the belly. Almost like you're pushing it towards the back of your spine. Just finishing your last set there, making sure you're nice and even. And then when you are, you can just carefully walk your feet back in. And we're going to lengthen just both legs away. Just opening those hips. I want you to bring both toes towards your nose, just flexing the feet and then pointing them away. So toes towards nose, flexing the feet, feeling a stretch through the back of the calf and then pointing them away. And then you can just make little circles with the ankles as well. And go the other direction. And then once you've done an even amount, you're just going to slide one leg back in, slide the other leg back in. And very carefully, got time to do it. Oh, I don't think we do have time. We're just going to do one last stretch. So I want you to draw your right knee in towards the body, just holding it down. And if it feels okay, you can just lengthen the other leg away. If you are lengthening the other leg away, just keep that heel grounded, keep that calf. Keep the elbows nice and wide, keep the shoulders away from the ears, and just hold this position here. Take a breath in. Breathe out. Breathing in. And breathing out. Breathing in. And on your next exhale, sliding your other leg away if it was lengthened out, and then just carefully placing that leg down. Other side. Let's draw that knee in, just holding it comfortably. And if it feels okay, sliding the other leg away. Slightly flexed foot. You've got the heel nice and grounded. Just doing 3 nice breaths here. Breathing in. Breathing out. Breathing in. Breathing out. Breathing in. And the next exhale, sliding that leg away. If you did lengthen it out, release the hands. And then just let the feet back down. And then we can open the arms out again, taking both our legs fully away, any position, and just let the body completely go. So let the chest want to pop if it wants to pop, just making sure that the shoulders aren't freaked up towards the ears. And just lie here. Just let the body completely submerge, be really, really heavy into the mat. Just letting everything go. And just having this time for you. And some of you, if you want to think about back on that breathing we did earlier, you can even bring your hands into the sides of the rib cage. And as you breathe in through your nose, can you feel the width expanding into the ribs? And then as you exhale, as they close in. I'm actually going to just leave you here to enjoy this moment for you. So taking your time, if you're lying down, just let everything go, especially making sure that the tongue is away from the roof of the mouth. Feeling the cheeks melt away. Have your eyes closed. And then just wiggling the fingers and toes, but just taking this time to be completely heavy and completely submerged. So enjoy this time for you. Take as long as you need to get yourself back up. But when you do get yourself back up, please just really take your time, just to avoid any sort of rushing of blood to the head. And I hope you have a lovely evening, and any questions, please don't hesitate to ask me, and hopefully I'll see some of you next week. But yeah, take care and have a lovely time.